sat in this case in the other room on the bottom shelf for a year and a half. Thousands of people in this museum have seen it. Then, another gorgeous, beautiful woman came to me one day at the museum and said, I can do something with that dress to help restore it. So, to make a long story short, I would like to introduce Carla and Kelly.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for coming. I don't speechify much, so bear with me while I read what I wrote, because it's just good to see that way on everybody. When John and I lived in Seattle, I had a little hobby making shadow boxes that I tried very hard to turn into a business. Can everyone hear me?
Mostly.
Okay. People really seemed to like each of my designs, but nobody really wanted to part with the money to actually buy them. And the idea behind my little picture was that you would see what I could do with bits and pieces that I found in the thrift shop, and you might want me to create one just for you using your bits and pieces that hadn't yet gone to the thrift shop. I did have a few takers, but not enough people who said they wanted to order a custom design actually climbed up to the attic to find whatever it was they wanted me to frame for them. So nothing ever really got off the ground, and I put the idea away. Shortly after John and I moved to Moklips in 2005, and the major work of setting up the household was done, I took myself up here to the museum one day to see what was what, because I love the old stuff. Well, here in this cute old ex-gas station was all this very cool old stuff. Rusted, dented things made of metal, chipped and cracked things made of glass and ceramic, the kind of stuff I lust after in my own antique shop. But what I didn't expect to find here was the wedding gown. It's certainly not the extraordinarily beautiful gown every husband wants to wear on the bright big day so long. You know, sometimes you can find the hulk of an old car in someone's barn or maybe out in the field. And you might get lucky and some of the parts are scattered around or in boxes somewhere. So you make your pitch to the farmer, and he takes you up on your offer, and off you go with your 37 Ford, missing just the undercarriage. Or your 56 Carmen Kia. Hey, it's all here. So the porch moe who ends up working on them for 10 years knows that these cars are what's called basket cases. And that's what you become when you figure out how much money you'll have to spend restoring one of these old gems. Now about that wedding dress. Well, that's pretty much what I saw that day in the museum, a basket case. So I went home to get some more work done, and I thought about that dress, how sad it looked. Just needed good washing, maybe a few stitches and a good pressing. Okay, but how can I get my hands on it? Cut to a year later. Most of you know that Kelly Calhoun is one of the major driving forces behind this museum and the Moklips by the Sea Historical Society. I finally met him a couple of times and later invited him to come and see my shop. But I had an ulterior motive, you see, because I still have many of those shadow boxes and I wanted Kelly to see them. And then I would approach the subject of the wedding gown with him because on a somewhat grander scale, that's what I had in mind to do with the dress. And so a week later, I found myself schlepping 3 of my best shadow box designs up to the Ocean Crest banquet room where I made my pitch to the museum's board of directors. I hadn't really looked closely at the dress in the museum display case. I knew it looked pretty bad, and I had no idea in the world whether or not I'd actually be able to do anything with it. All I really knew at the time was that it sure couldn't hurt to try. And so it began to look like one of my little shadow boxes was going to end up in the museum. But I have to tell you that when I got the dress home and laid it out to see what was what, I got to thinking about the deal negotiated between the mouth and the rear end of my alligator and my canary, respectively. But I had bitten this off and I intended to chew it hard. And this is what I started with. Wrinkles set in stone for nearly 100 years. Fabric rotted away in very visible but hard to repair locations. And covering the entire gown is a net overskirt so fragile the slightest tug tears it. And this part is encrusted with loose beadwork. And finally, big black mildew spots invading everything beneath the surface. Cut past 80 hours of work over a 2-month period. See the comparison. So, once nearly a pile of rags donated to the museum in a pillowcase, the gown Francis wore has been restored to the regal beauty it once was. And with that, I pronounce it ready for its second big day.
See it?
I'm impressed every time I see this. I haven't seen it very many times.
You hadn't seen it?
I can see it right now.
It's nearly 4 feet wide by 5 feet
I haven't
high.
seen it.
That's a
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, get out of here.